Hey everyone, Ianthe Marini here, and I just finished a really high intensity workout, so I figured that now would be as good a time as any to talk about this wellness journey that we are all on together. And I thought I might also give you a little bit of insight to sort of my journey with wellness for what it's worth, and it might not be worth anything in your life, which is great also. The first thing that I wanted to mention is that the road towards figuring out what your body needs and what you need to be holistically well is a long road, and it can take many years. For me, it took over a decade. I know that that sounds daunting, and I'll go into that a little bit, but give yourself patience. Give yourself patience, kindness, grace, and mercy, and compassion. Give yourself those things that you would give to a friend who was going on this same journey. What we think in our own minds about ourselves and our health can be so destructive, the language that we sometimes use with ourselves. So before you think about, using destructive language with yourself, first think, would I say this to a friend? And what would I do if I saw somebody else talking to a friend the way that I'm about to talk to myself? Most likely you would get up in that person's face and you would defend your friend. And so do that. Defend yourself. Be your own friend. Offer yourself patience, kindness, compassion, mercy, and grace while you're on this journey. And beyond, always offer yourself those things. The second thing that I want to talk about is it's not about a diet. It's not about a diet pill. It's not about a crash starvation so that you can fit into your favorite pair of jeans to go, clubbing, and then you gain it all back the next week. Trust me, I tried all of that too. It's about a holistic approach to finding all of the ways to actualize your fullest potential for physical and emotional and mental well-being. And as I mentioned earlier, it can take years. I'll be honest with you, I am just about 35 years old. My birthday's in a couple of days. And it wasn't until I was like 31, 32 years old that I really started to figure out the balance that was necessary in my life. My 20s were all about either starving myself, eating far too little, or binging and eating far too much, either over exercising or not exercising at all. And I went from, 90 pounds to 190 pounds, back and forth and back and forth. I would, almost biannually, my body was changing to be either much too skinny or, obese according to the BMI index. So what I realized as I sort of rounded the corner towards my 30s, late 20s, early 30s, I realized, okay, why is this happening? I'm so frustrated with my body. Why is it that I'm, really skinny for 6 months and then obese for the next 6 months? And I realized that my relationship with food was my physical manifestation of stress, anxiety, sadness, and depression, honestly. So I was using food as a vice to fill all sorts of voids that I was feeling in my life. And as I sort of sat down to discover, okay, what are those voids? What is it that's causing this depression, that's causing me to either undereat or overeat? I kept coming back to sort of the same word, and that was toxicity. We put all sorts of toxins into our bodies. And I'm not just talking about, the food or the drink that we eat. Soda is a toxin, packaged, overly processed foods that we grab from, the 7-Eleven because it's easy, that puts toxins into our bodies. All sorts of things that we think are nourishment and they're not, they're toxin. But I'm also talking about the other type of toxin, and that is toxic relationships, toxic friendships, toxic work environments, toxic play spaces where you go to have recreation. Are those toxic? And are the people with whom you frequent those establishments, are they toxic in your life? So I was finding that I was sort of supporting and encouraging all of this toxicity in my day-to-day existence that was contributing to my overeating or my undereating. And once I was able to have the courage and the bravery to get rid of those toxins, I started to be more holistically well. I think it sounds either obvious or sort of crunchy granola or however you think it sounds to say that we cannot achieve physical wellness until we achieve mental, emotional, spiritual, holistic wellness. It is completely a full package that we're trying to achieve in our lives to be healthy. What do I mean by toxic people or toxic workplaces? A relationship that is healthy is one that uplifts you, that gives you positive energy, that gives you good energy that you can feed off of. A healthy relationship is one that empowers you, that makes you understand and appreciate your own worth and value in the world. And conversely, a toxic relationship is all the things that a healthy relationship isn't. A toxic relationship is one that gives you negative energy, that makes you question your own self-worth, that sort of sucks you dry and leaves you feeling empty and bare. And those are the relationships that you have every right to try and exercise of yourself of, get rid of those. You have the right to do that. You don't have to hang on to that. And once you discover in your own life what is giving you a roadblock, what is keeping you from actualizing into your full, most glorious self, once you discover what that is, you are well on the road to physical well-being and wellness. So that brings me to my third point, and that is, okay, so once we're there, once we recognize the toxicity and we start to let go of them in our lives, then what? Then what do we do? Well, then we discover what our specific intention and purpose is in this world. What is our superpower? And there are a couple different ways to sort of approach this subject. One of the really important ways that I think to discover the power that we have within is to try and reject the ideas that the media puts into our head about body image of women and female body image. I am a child of the 90s. I was born in the mid 80s. I grew up in the 1990s. I was a teenager in the late 90s and in the early 2000s. As you might be able to tell from my gym outfit here, these shorts that I think my mother bought for me when I was 12, which I'm still wearing up here because they don't fit right anymore. Anyway, I'm a child of the 90s. The woman celebrity that was sort of the most popular when I was a teenager was Angelina Jolie. You would check out of the grocery store, the CVS, and there was always a People magazine article about Angelina Jolie and her weight. Here's Angelina Jolie looking like skin and bones. Angelina Jolie was just admitted to the hospital again for dehydration and starvation. And then a month later, Angelina Jolie is packing on the pounds so quickly, and they would show her with a photo with an angle that showed arm meat or something like that. And hence the cycle, rotated and continued. And, what did those magazines not show me when I was a teenager? They didn't tell me that Angelina Jolie was one of the most brilliant writers, one of the most generous and passionate humanitarians. They didn't mention in People magazine on the cover that in 2003 she created an entire foundation which supports the rural communities that are living in extraordinary poverty in Cambodia, the foundation that is helping to save the environment in Africa. People magazine only focused on her body image, didn't tell us that she's brilliant in an interview, that she has an unbelievable mind, that she is strong of conviction and puts her money where her mouth is. So what if girls and teenagers saw that message instead about the celebrities and the politicians and the people that we see in the media? So personally, what we can do is we can find out those things about our heroes, and we can focus on those empowering aspects of these people that we see every day in the news and in the media. Okay, how do we discover the power within ourselves? I am a total Marvel movie lover. I love the Marvel movies. I've always been a Star Wars fanatic. I grew up with Star Wars. Hunger Games I love, Harry Potter I love, Star Trek, The Next Generation I love. All of these stories are fictional tales about strong women and strong people who fight fascism. They are anti-fascism stories that feature incredibly strong women. Wonder Woman, Diana, Gal Gadot, who is just marvelous in the role. Black Panther, we have Nakia and Okoye, and we have Rey Skywalker and Princess Leia, bless you, Carrie Fisher, may you rest in peace, I love you. Jyn Orso from Rogue One. We have Katniss Everdeen, we have Hermione Granger, we have, Counselor Deanna Troi from Star Trek. We have all of these strong women who are there as sort of fictionalized superhero characters to help and show us what our superpowers are. Sure, they are fictionalized heroes and they are fictionalized stories. However, the purpose of those fictionalized superhero stories is to show us that we have all of that within ourselves as well. My real life hero, one of them, is John Lewis, and I know that he is a hero to millions across the entire planet. John Lewis's passing recently made me really reflect on him again in a proactive and active way, and he taught us, not only through his words, but more through his actions. Throughout his entire life, he taught us that it is ordinary people that do extraordinary things, that we hold the power within ourselves to make the world better, which is what those superhero movies are telling us, except here we have a real man who showed us all of that in his life through his actions. He taught us that through injustice, or when we see inequality, when we see injustice, when we see inequity, when we see the mistreatment of other people, we can't sit idly by in silence. That's complicit. What we need to do is stand up, speak up. We need to get in the way of that injustice, and we need to use the power within ourselves, our ordinary selves, to make the world better and to be a force for good. So, okay, what am I babbling on about? I thought this was, a video about physical wellness. It is, my friends. 'Tis the circle of life, baby. It is all connected. It's about a holistic approach. Once we can value and appreciate the power and the strength within ourselves, that is when we can be a force for good in the world, which is when we feel mentally well, which is in turn when we can start to feel physically well and to do what we need to do to feed our body, our soul, our mind, and our spirit. One of my favorite comedians and artists is Trevor Noah, and he shares this African proverb sometimes that says, to strike a woman is to strike a rock. And I love that, because we really are strong as rocks, women. We have the power within us to do anything. And that includes getting rid of the toxin in our life, finding the power within ourselves to be Wonder Woman in the real world, and finding physical wellness. It is all about a holistic approach. So I know this has been sort of a rambling, circumlocuitous video, but it's all related to each other. And I just want to remind you that this journey takes a while. It takes a while for you to figure out your balance, your work-life balance, your exercise-food balance, the balance of how much food your body really needs to fuel healthfully and successfully. Remember, in your journey, give yourself patience, kindness, compassion, grace, and mercy. And remember that we are all in this together. We are stronger together. And we're all rooting for each other and cheering each other on. And I'm cheering for you. And live well.